Unfortunately, a true story. They say he lacks parental care. He wonders if that means the day his mother shoved him in the dustbin, kept him there with bricks to stop the lid. A dark and raven world with holes no sweets can fill. He knows a rock upon the moors that legend says was once a troll. He likes this stunted Nordic creature, gives it names and tells it jokes, sits down beside its stony base to nurse his feelings, soothe his welts, shelter from the rain. He has a penknife which he hones upon this troll to make the blade as sharp as every curse. When I wrote this poem, I was thinking about Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, as one does, and I realised that part of the story of Titania and Oberon, it's a kind of an Elizabethan version of a modern sort of custody. What do you call it? Custody. Where people, custody battle. People, parents fighting for control of their children. So it's called Titania's Wood. Her snakes are enamel in moonlight, hot and heavy as chains. They stir uneasily, hiss. In her rosebud bower she twines love knots with ribbons as gifts for the child. Unnoticed, her husband paces the forest, plots how best he can hurt his wife, take over and gain control of the boy. They are both obsessed. This is a poisonous wood, wolfsbane, hemlock, a low-hanging moon in a pool of frogs, pale green and belly up, dead. The child sleeps on. As yet no unscrupulous moonbeams disorder the curls of his head. In his sweetbriar dreams, the world is kind. Later he'll learn not only worms are blind. And another sort of literary one called Daisies for Keats, about the death of John Keats. How bad to be stifled by walls, to have lungs with hooks that shred every breath and turn each nerve on a spit. It hurts me to read how you cover your face with your hands and weep for a girl, that you wake distraught, finding yourself still alive. Who knows what quickens my interest in you, or why I should care? There's sorrow enough outside my door. Or why I bring daisies to lay on your grave, and hope deep down you're aware that I have, and are glad there is spring in the air. It's painful to think you die like a mullet encased in glass at a Roman feast, when the midwinter sky in your casement window is restless with light, and there's still so much you would do. This one, I need to find the page, and I need a big breath and a lot of rhythm for this. It's called Glancing at Labels, and it was inspired by just looking at the names on bottles of beer. Very interesting. Anyway, she sings the tune in a different key, and the rhythm is faster and quite upbeat, but the lyric's not new and the theme's the same, and it's always that guy from an earlier song who mattered and meant a lot to her then, though her life's moved on and he is not in it, and love is a plaque high up on a wall that tells how a person once living is dead, but the bricks exist and his name's on a blue and white plate. So she scrapes the memories out of the rubble as if they were trinkets lost in the blitz, and scribbles a phrase of heartache and rain as pub walls heave with calls from all bitter, and she winds good strings on her old guitar, though no one will listen, and glances at labels on bottles of beer like Hop Garden Gold and Fiddler's Elbow, Spitfire and End of the World. This is in the current Tears 60, page 98. It's called Feeling for Self, and it's part of a sequence, and I'm still writing it. You know, that's what I mean. It's part of a sequence. It's not finished yet. But part of the fun, I think, of writing a sequence is that just when you think maybe you're getting to the end, you know, a verse, some lines will lead on to the next bit, and it just takes over, doesn't it? And it sort of started out vaguely as something about camouflage and illusion and self-deception, but the more I write it, the more it's sort of taking over, as I say, and turning into something about transformation and even transfiguration, maybe, a feeling for self. Camouflage, camouflare, is a muffled sound, soft as fleece, though false and ungentle in a film, where cellophane is crackling fire, sticks will whoosh in air as arrows, frozen lettuce in a fist crunches up to replicate a hideous mush of bone. Recordings of a nightingale overdub a motorbike that zooms past Camelot in joyous throttle. In nature, death awaits the hare, camouflage for winter snow, whose white fur in a warmer season turns him conspicuous. It's the razzle-dazzle of the warship that I love. Patterns, stripes, disrupted zigzags, screaming colours that punch the eye, whip the senses into confusion, interrupt an aim and target line. The artist filled his days with tiny painted wooden frigates. Dreams were rich with zebras and giraffes. Picasso, spotting a violet piebald cannon in Paris, credited Cubism with the thought, the begetting of it. Sunlight plunges on oceans, sinks down through shallows to depths. I like the mimicry in underwaters, distractions to hoodwink, protect, outwit and survive. Gimmicks such as eye spots on damsel or butterfly fish, the flounder's rapid switches of colour, tricks of luminescence to create a pebble dash effect, the subtle use of shade. Gelatinous and semi-clear, the jellyfish tries to conceal its shape, translucence belying the sting. The hanging fly discovered in resin, once assumed by researchers to be a 5-lobed leaf, must have lived somewhere arid, moody with pools and dark, thick trees, a fiefdom of conifers, horsetails, ferns and ginkgos, the last of which, with outstretched wings, it mimicked. I can picture it splayed on bark, thin-legged like grass in ambush or hiding, a fierce and precarious clinging to life, an instinctive feeling for self. Memory's an illusionist, a charlatan, though without it we quickly unlink to ourselves. Imagination's barren and visions, like boilies as bait for fish, soon dissolve in a murky pool. Recollections may slip chronology's noose, impelled by the scent of strong black coffee or tiramisu at a cafe in Rome, or else will be punched by nostalgia's fist in a quick-fire blast of a golden oldie slung from a passing car. Nostalgia, a word whose connotations echo like a herdsman's call on an alpine horn, too far away from the lowlands of a foreign realm where mercenaries pined for hills. Nabokov, homesick, obsessed with butterflies all his life, and sad on his deathbed for those he missed, recalled his father had loved to show him which flick of the wrist would net the pretty fluttering bug, and his mother taught him to spread the wings out, pin them under glass. A neat way to reminisce, said Warhol, relishing a scent stocked up in a bottle. For 3 months he'd sport an exotic perfume, then never wear it again. One sniff in later years of Toujours Fidèle or Gardenie de Tahiti, and an essence of forgotten days would rush to the surface like seismic waves, or else be one small diamond trekking up from Earth's hot core to grit on the top, through layers of granite and clay. Yes, the past's an expert forger, crafty as Venus in her shell, and it's fearful to go down to the dark of your mind or into a sea of no air, no breath, leaving all lantern fish behind in their sunlit zone and lurching into liquid midnight, where slimy creatures rise up shockingly in the sludge, thin as bats from Hades, legions and legions of them, transparent in their blackness and eyeless. To be continued.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Oh, very good.
Three shortish ones.
Yes,
that's all right. You say you don't do smiles. You say you don't do smiles. Don't like drawing them. Never learnt the technique. You're lying. If it was that simple, you would paint only angels, colourless as moons and dripping with lilies, like couriers for flowers on line. If it was that simple, you'd give me a low-lipped door expression and let me turn around. Instead, you paint my back, always my back, so that the moody outline of me mingles with the umbrage of an artificial beach, or an apartment block where even verandas are in profile, but I am not. Will you buy me a drink tonight? Share some supper for once? I'll find us a table nearest the door. You know I will. Better still, paint me a towel. Lay it down on that balcony, third from the left. I'll strip my clothes off, find a bikini, be a small red dot to focus the eye, a reference point for scale. Not your style. You say you like your canvases minimalist and bleak, silence in a bloody, anguished world. So if love in the sand dunes isn't for us, then I may as well be faceless, sparse as spinifex grass. And since there's nothing to be happy about, I'm glad you never do smiles. Fine detail. A nestling will open its tiny beak for any shape of silhouette that flickers above its eye. No need for finer detail here, nor when a cobweb in a stubble field disperses in unbright air. Once there was a St. Martin's summer, November days of dark green rain, and after the harvest, ceasing of war, the soothing of body's ache. Now this is a season for children to die, though a drone overhead has the detail of bird. And it's time for the faceless men to scurry along a nowhere road. It's a season of loss, a father says, as he carries home a scrap of torso, could be anybody's torso, and buries it as his son. Last one, this is especially for David, because I know he likes this. I tweaked bits of it in a workshop that David gave down here. Ptolemy's stars. Tonight in this countryside, the sky is a bright citadel shining on dark water. Ptolemy might still recognise the serried multitude of stars whose fiery circling caused his heart to leap and soar with joy. How easy it is to imagine the creamy Milky Way, heavy and thick with luminous souls, the iridescent dead of the day, who pause for an aeon of feasting before swimming on to a moon. And easy to imagine that sad tale of Adam and Eve, whose first skin shone like a halo in gold leaf, before their flesh dried up with loss and dulled to a mortal grey. A departure of shine for them and for us, as we stagger and doze, are wounded in sleep, unaware that as dreamers we are becoming extinct. Tonight there are many stars in this firmament. A salmon, essence of silver, glitters in its own dark sea. How luminescent it is, and vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mandy.